Hey, For the Republic fans, we are very, very close to a huge milestone here. Our 100th episode of For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. We can't believe it's been over 3 years and close to 100 episodes journeying through Star Wars with you together here on this podcast feed. We're also getting very close to another big milestone here, that being 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel. We have big plans for our 100th episode and the future of this channel, but why not make it even bigger by making it a special 100 and 100 celebration here on For the Republic. So we're officially starting our 100 for 100 campaign here on this channel. If we hit that special milestone by our 100th episode, we will be doing a special watch-along live stream of the Ewok movies from the 80s. Those two direct-to-TV movies, Caravan of Courage and The Battle for Endor. None of us have ever seen those before. We are going to be watching those for the first time with you all, having some fun, talking about them, and having some good Star Wars fun here on this channel. We're just a few subscribers away from our goal, so if you want to have some fun with us, go ahead, head over to our YouTube, subscribe to For the Republic Podcast, and let's have some fun journeying through Star Wars together.
You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. Andrew and Donovan are here once again for a very, very late episode here.
It's so overdue.
Our super late favorite Star Wars stories of 2024. Now, you might be asking yourself, Andrew, isn't it June of 2025 when you're recording now? The answer to that question is yes. The last 2 years we've done this every year since we started doing this podcast. We've typically done this around the middle of January so we can get caught back up on any lingering books or comics that we haven't gotten around to from the previous year and try and include them in our list because Star Wars is more than just what you see on the screen.
Oh, yes.
And then that was the plan for this year, but then Skeleton Crew was also finishing up in January. And then it was like, okay, we're just going to wait until we finish the books we're currently reading until we get to the episode. And then like 2 more months after that happened where we were just like, okay, Andor, we got to push this because we got to talk about Andor. So now, finally, we are here to talk about our favorite stories of 2024. And you might be thinking, yeah, we literally have finished a season or a series so far this year. But you know what? Let's look back on 6 months, rewind back to 6 months ago, and let's talk about what we enjoyed from Star Wars last year. And there were a lot of things that I really liked last year.
Are you suggesting, Andrew, that we travel back in time?
I am. I am, in fact, suggesting that.
So yeah, had to get the pun in there.
I'm glad you did. But yeah, no, we are very excited to do this for the 3rd consecutive year in a row, even though it's going to be a little bit late, a lot of it late, but it is what it is. But I know that you had something you wanted to show off first before we get into our list, so take the reins here.
Oh yeah, I've actually got like a sort of a thrift thing because it's eBay. My mum got it off of eBay as a present for me. But yeah, so I've got this signed copy of a Star Wars Episode 1 comic, Qui-Gon Jinn comic. I don't unfortunately know when this was published, but oh, hang on. So yeah, 1999. This was published. It's a Dark Horse issue, and it was written. It was written by the creative team on it was Robert Teranishi and Chris Chukri, and this is a edition that they have signed, and there is in fact a certificate of authenticity just there. It's all sealed and stuff, but it's just a cool thing to like have, really. It's cool little bit of, and you got like this nice little publicity still of Liam Neeson here, just chilling, looking like the Zen dude that he is.
I like it. So, yeah. It should be the one with the hat and the sunglasses.
Yes, that's great. Like that and the Django like singing in the rain like outtake from Attack of the Clones. I love it. My favorite prequel outtakes.
So
Just
been
a
a
cool
while
thing
since
to
we've
show off.
had one, but yeah, we got another episode of Scavenger Show and Tell here.
I
And
I finally have something for Scavenger
I
Show and Tell to
know.
show off. I love it.
I feel like it's
great.
always me, but yeah, that was not. That's really cool. Like I have the only signed comic I have over here is issue 1 of Crimson Reign. But I
Ooh,
just haven't had a place to display that yet. But mine
that's
doesn't even
cool.
have that little certificate. So that's really cool there. I like that a lot. No, that's it. I need more Qui-Gon stuff. Literally, the only thing I have is the Force Ghost Black Series figure from Kenobi. Like that's the only thing I have on display right
Ooh.
now. Because the only other Black Series one that I know of is in a 3-pack, and I don't want to spend that kind of money. But we'll see in the future. But anyways, now we can get into our super late best of 2024, our favorite stories of 2024 edition. As usual, we are going to be going over our top 5 favorite stories of the year, starting at number 5 and going all the way down to number 1. But before we get into our list proper, we can start with some honorable mentions. Don, I know you have more than I do, so why don't you start us off? And before you get into that, I'm actually very curious of what our lists are going to be.
Yeah.
Because in years past, like we've had some wild cards in here, but like we knew like, oh, we'd have this and this like near the top of each of our lists. With the shows, I feel like it's a safe bet. We're going to see a lot of those on here. It's just the order is what I'm curious about. But I also know that the stuff that we've read in the non-visual media of Star Wars is wildly different. So I feel like there's going to be some different ones that shock both of us. But kick us off with your honorable mentions.
Oh yeah, I'll be very happy to. So I'm going to start off with the High Republic comic. I think this is it Dark Horse? I'm not sure. But
If
yeah,
it's High
basically
Republic Adventures,
High
I think
Republic
it is
Adventures.
Dark Horse.
So this is a High Republic Adventures comic called Saber for Hire. It's written by Kevin Scott and it's illustrated by Rachel Stott. And I'm picking this because I am still very behind on High Republic Phase 3, even as we're like barreling towards the conclusion with Trials of the Jedi. I still can't believe we're about to like bid farewell to this era in a sense.
Away. It's crazy.
You know, the main story at least. But yeah, I've picked this because I was really in kind of a rut reading Eye of Darkness. I was kind of struggling to get through it, and I wound up reading this. I got this around December mainly because like I really wanted to have at least one comic story from like 2024 that I had read because I'm so behind with like the ongoings in like the regular continuity. But yeah, this is a really fun story considering the kind of like bleak atmosphere of Eye of Darkness. It was really refreshing to like get an adventure with Ty Yorick, you know, the monster hunter from Phase 1, and have her like just have a real kind of like there was a real sense of forward momentum with it, like her like kicking ass and like and dealing with the kind of a lingering plot thread from Eye of Darkness. But yeah, it's really fun, and it really got me back in the High Republic groove. And I wound up finishing Eye of Darkness like a couple of days, after finishing this comic. So it reignited my High Republic fire. So
I'm glad because I didn't realize you read that. I'm glad that we have some THR representation because I have none this year. It's the first time I haven't had one. I'm just so far behind, but I do want to read Saber for Hire once I'm caught up because I did read the Monster of Temple Peak Ty Yorick miniseries from
really good.
years ago, which is great. So I definitely am interested in reading more of her story. All right, what else you got for us?
So this probably would perhaps be on my top 5 if I had read more of it, but I've currently only like read the prelude. So the next thing I'm going to say for an honorable mention is The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire by Dr. Chris Kempshall. I've only read the prelude and part of the first chapter, but you know, for anyone who doesn't know, this is basically an in-universe account of like the history of the Galactic Empire, written from the perspective of Beaumont Kin, Dominic Monaghan's character from The Rise of Skywalker, like after The Rise of Skywalker. And, you know, I already love what Chris Kempshall is doing here. You know, it's great to see his kind of like background as like a, you know, a historian, you know, like bringing that to kind of bear with Star Wars. He's a huge fan of Star Wars. He wrote like a previous kind of like a book talking about how modern politics are tied in with Star Wars. I think it was called like Death Stars and Democracy. I think it was called, but already there were like two things he takes full advantage of here that I don't think The Rise of Skywalker really and the sequel trilogy in general didn't really grasp fully. And for me, that's the first thing is Beaumont Kin. That character already, it's great to see that character kind of put to use as a historian and get his perspective on things, because it's a cool character. And I love Dominic Monaghan and stuff, but he very much was kind of like, he felt like a bit superfluous in the movie. Didn't feel like he had enough to do, really. It almost feels like there should have been a version of it where he and Rose also go on the kind of like journey, really, with Rey, Finn, and Poe and Chewie and stuff. Like that would have been fun. But it really, his personality kind of comes through very well in this book. It's great to hear his observations and stuff. But the other reason I'm picking it as well is because, funnily enough, and it also ties in very well with Andor. But this book, there's a lot of like analogies to contemporary politics. It definitely makes you think of stuff that's going on currently.
What?
It's like, oh, Beaumont Kin thinks Palpatine, like when you strip all the magic and all the force foo away, is like a petty tyrant with remarkably thin skin. I wonder what modern day politician that could be analogous to.
No idea.
But yeah, I highly definitely recommend this to anyone currently feeling the Andor blues. There's references to the events of Andor, and it's just it really has that kind of Andor vibe, looking at kind of like the political system of the galaxy. So that's my second pick.
Perfect.
My third pick is going to be Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, which was on my list. It was in my the number 5 position, and then it got booted off by something else, which we'll get into. But this is probably my favorite of the animated Lego specials that have been going out on Disney Plus. It's basically the closest we've got to a Star Wars what if story, and there's all the fun stuff there that you expect, all the weird continuity things like, Leia and Greedo having a romance, and like Darth Jar Jar, like Vader and the white armor and stuff, Jedi Palpatine, all that kind of like crazy shit that we were all kind of expecting and looking forward to. But it is also surprisingly grounded in this like genuinely interesting like dynamic between these two brothers, which is a dynamic we don't, outside of like the symbolic brotherhood between Anakin and Obi-Wan, we don't really see that kind of dynamic in Star Wars, like an older brother and a younger brother, like kind of dealing with the massive, like kind of huge, like galaxy reshaping events of this series. So yeah, it's probably the best of the Star Wars kind of Lego specials that we've had. I'm really excited that they're doing another season of that, and this is another reason I wanted to like have it in my honorable mentions at least, because this was another little birthday present that I got.
I wanted that
baby.
so bad.
Oh, me too. It is worth the money. It is. Look at it. Oh,
that is insane.
It's gorgeous.
2 Falcon sets that I have not built, and I might get a third because I need that.
I love the little
minifigs alone.
Like, I love the little like Death Star Ray here that's in place of the dish.
Cool.
And I can't not show this guy off as well as like a Jar Jar fan. But if I just like open it up a little bit and just retrieve someone, Misa going to hurt you. Just absolute like joy, brilliant. All right. So I have one final pick for my honorable mentions before we get to yours. This is definitely the longest honorable mentions anyone's ever done for these, but my final pick is Star Wars Outlaws, which
I thought it was going to make your list.
I thought it too, and it probably would have. It had I finished the whole thing. I'm still currently like partway through it. I've made it to Kijimi currently, but yeah, surprise, surprise, a Star Wars open world game is a lot of fun. It's really cool. I know, like just getting to go around the galaxy, like as this kind of like small time smuggler that is K-Vess. It's really fun. There's loads of cool stuff. I had a surprising amount of fun playing Sabak. I wasn't expecting to, but like the Sabak system they have in it is really fun. And Kay herself is a really interesting character. Like the game and the story do a really good job. Even where I am currently, it does a great job of like making you feel that Han Solo effect almost of like she's this small time smuggler who's thrust into like big events, and she's clearly out of her depth, but she's kind of like winging it with her charisma the whole way through. She's like, you know, in D&D terms, she's like throwing charisma checks. She's having to go through charisma checks currently, and she constantly, and she keeps rolling high. She's a really cool character, and Humberly Gonzalez does a great job bringing her to life. But another reason I wanted to bring up Star Wars Outlaws is, you know, we've been this has been more of a kind of regularity the last few episodes, but it will shock you to know there might actually be an actor who was in Doctor Who. So without further ado, Andrew, I think it's time for another episode of Who Watch. Yes. So I'm just gonna pull my notes up now because this was last minute. I just thought of this now.
Watching a game. Who would have thought?
So who watching a game? Who would have thought? But yeah, so the actor in question is the main villain, effectively, of Outlaws, Slero, who is the one who puts the bounty on Kate Vess's head and why she has to like flee Canto Bight, which incidentally, it's great getting to run around Canto Bight, if ever briefly. But yeah, so he has been in an episode of Doctor Who. He was in the episode Ascension of the Cybermen back in 2020, which almost felt like it was from a different 2020 because that series started in January, just before COVID. That was like one of the few like pre-COVID things that went out. But he plays like a sergeant character in an episode called Ascension of the Cybermen, which was basically like a 3-part finale that focused on the Cybermen, one of the Doctor's most enduring enemies. I've said before they're basically cyborg creatures. They replace their human organs with metal parts, and they want to convert everyone else. And they have these like metallic voices. They're surprisingly like scary a lot of the time. But yeah, it was a really good like 3-parter. It had like this massive continuity shakeup. So it's cool that he's part of both 2 different like mad stories in Star Wars and Doctor Who. But that's like that does it for the video game edition of Who Watch.
Finally, we got a prop for it.
Finally, we have a Sonic. I've been 2 years, we've been doing this pod, or 3 years, sorry, and at no point did it occur to me, oh yeah, I should have a Sonic prop for this. And it's just so much fun. It's just so much fun.
I'm having a blast just watching it.
But yeah, Outlaws is great. Outlaws is a lot of fun. They just dropped the Hondo DLC, and I can't say enough good things about it. If I had played the whole thing, it probably would be on my list. But here we are.
Alas. Now for my honorable mentions. Real quickly, I just want to point out for people going to be like, where is this on your list? Let me just briefly go over some things I didn't get to. Any High Republic content did not get to this year, sadly. So no Temptation of the Force, no what's the last one? You know, none of the big books or comics made it onto my list, sadly. Outlaws I also haven't gotten around to yet, so that is not going to be on there. And then most of the books and comics from this past year, there's a couple books that made it on there. I did start the Battle of Jakku series. I only got 2 issues in. It wasn't hooking me. I'm going to get to it eventually. Next year, hopefully, is going to be a lot different because I am, for once in my life, caught and up to date on the current comic runs, which is, cool. I can't believe I'm saying that. But I'm caught up on Jedi Knights. I'm caught up on Legacy of Vader, and I'm caught up on Bad Batch Ghost Agents. I just need to start the main line. I'm just waiting. So yeah, hopefully some more representation next year in the publishing side of Star Wars. On my end. I only have 2 honorable mentions. I'll go through them pretty quickly. My first one is a repeat of yours. It is Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. It almost didn't make it on my list, if I'm being honest with you. I did like it. It just took a bit for me. Because I remember we had a recording a couple of months ago where I had watched the first 2 episodes. It took me forever to get to it. And it was right around the time that the Minecraft movie memes were going around. And I was just like, I watched it and I'm just like, this humor just feels like you're just listing off weird things, and like that's the whole joke. That like Ewok bounty hunters, and I'm like, all right, well that's just the joke here. And I was just like, maybe I just hate what if stories because I famously do not like the Marvel show, and I'm like, okay, why is this not working for me? But then I watched the 3rd and the 4th episode, and I really liked those. And I really liked the alternate Sith, like Darth Jar Jar, Darth Ray, Darth Rose Tico, like. I loved them all. They were all great. And it was just the brother story I really liked. I liked her supporting cast. And I thought the third and the fourth episode were a ton of fun. So they made it on my list as an honorable mention. My other honorable mention is the Barriss Offee stories from Tales of the Empire. Not the full one, because the Morgan stories did not work for me. But Barriss' stories I did want to highlight. I thought they were really well done. We finally got our question, our decade-old question of, where is Barriss? And then by the end of it, we had another question of, where's Barriss?
Where's Barriss?
So I found that funny. But I like that they gave depth to the fourth sister from Kenobi and like actually made her a character, and having her have that dynamic with Barriss. I thought was really strong. And I really liked seeing the direction her character went, and its connections to a potential hidden path follow up down the line would be really sick. So those are my only honorable mentions this year. I apologize. It was a light year for me. But with that being said, Donovan, start us off. What is your number 5 Star Wars story of 2024?
So my number 5 Star Wars story of 2024 is going to be Mace Windu and the Glass Abyss. This was a really cool book. I was not expecting to enjoy this as much as I did, but basically, this was basically a post Phantom Menace adventure, which is not a thing we usually kind of see. Really, this is one of the rare stories to take place in between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, and basically it involves Mace Windu being sent on a mission to the planet Metagos to basically resolve a mission that Qui-Gon was in the middle of and basically got called away from because it went very badly for him. And basically, this is a story that involves Mace infiltrating this planet, posing as like a security detail for like the main villain of the piece, which is Chulok. I won't say anything else about him since I kind of want you to read this, Andrew, but like, one of the most like unique and disturbing villains in like Star Wars literature. Like there's a thing involving Chulok and how this particular being is composed that is just so wild and kind of gross that I almost kind of don't want to give it away for anyone other than teasing that. But basically, yeah, this is a really solid book. It's a great Mace Windu like vehicle to like analyze his character. Like it really gets into him and analyzes him and shows why he's so unique, how he does skirt the dark side and balances that with the light side. You know, the cover is very on the nose with the like kind of light and dark elements between the purple lightsaber, and it's also notable that this book is written by Stephen Barnes, who has written one other Star Wars story, which is The Cestus Deception, which was a Legends novel that centered on Obi-Wan and Count Dooku during the Clone Wars, and it was one of the first Legends novels that I owned, and I haven't read it for years, but it was just so wild to like pick this up and go, oh, this is I've got the only other Star Wars book this guy wrote. But yeah, no, I definitely recommend it. I've always kind of liked Mace a little bit. He's kind of gone up and down the like rankings of Star Wars characters, but it's a really good read. It's a really cool like kind of analysis of his character, and it feels the most Legends out of all of the canon novels that I read. It has a real Legends vibe in a good way, like in terms of like the kind of stuff that goes on in it. But yeah, it's a really fun book. Can't recommend it enough.
I got to get to it still. I'm in my Mace Windu Renaissance era where I'm like, no, I really do like Mace. So I definitely want to read that at some point.
Oh, there's plenty of kung fu in it as well.
Oh, well, then you've sold me. My number 5 is an out there one. My number 5 is the Audible original Padawan's Pride. This was one of the ones I got to at the very end. It's another post-Phantom Menace story. It follows Anakin and Obi-Wan 3 years after the Phantom Menace on a mission. My sell to you is, if you like pod racing, if you like Ben Quadinaros, that's all you need to know here.
You sold me, dude.
Yeah, it is really fun. I was worried I wasn't going to vibe with it because it is a younger grade novel or audiobook in this case, but it really worked for me. I thought the audiobook was great. I think it definitely captured Anakin at this point in time really well. It does take place a little bit before the Charles Soule miniseries from about a decade ago. And I just thought the dynamic between Anakin and Obi-Wan was really well fleshed out. They have this really creepy creature villain near the end. And I liked, obviously, since pod racing plays a huge role in this one, there is a lot of unique characters that I really liked. And there's this one like droid pod racer that you really get attached to. There's a pit droid character that was really fun. There's some huts that show up. There was, strangely enough, High Republic references, which I was not expecting in this junior grade audio book. But it was really well done. And this was kind of like a surprise announcement. They just dropped it out of nowhere. Jake Bartok, who did the cover art for this book, didn't even know that it was coming out that day, or that's what this art was for. But no, it was really enjoyable. And as someone that loves me some Anakin and Obi-Wan stories, this scratched the itch for me, definitely. And I'm glad that I got around to finishing this before we got to recording this episode. So that is my number 5, is Padawan's Pride.
Awesome. I definitely need to check that out. I mean, I was already intrigued with the Anakin Obi-Wan thing.
It's only about 3 hours-ish for an audiobook, which is not bad at all. And yeah, I recommend it. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
All right, so your number 4?
Yeah, so my number 4 is going to be Skeleton Crew.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought we were going to have the exact same number 4, so that is a plot.
I went back and forth with it. Yeah, I went back and forth, but like it's like minutia with the next 4 entries for sure. Like tiny little like distinctions. But yeah, Skeleton Crew was like great. I loved it, and the best thing I can say about it is it was the Star Wars show we needed, like right at the very right moment, because we were all reeling from the Acolyte's cancellation. This kind of like downbeat feeling that that certain people on the internet had gotten their way and taken something from us that was like really fun and interesting. And there was also another thing that went down that was slightly depressing. Well, kind of depressing, but enough about real life politics. But yeah, Skeleton Crew came along and was just a real like ode to the Amblin era, and it didn't feel like a kind of shallow thing of like, oh, it's just chalking off references to like Amblin stuff we all had seen as kids. It felt like a genuine love letter to that era and a really unique Star Wars story, because like amongst all of the Disney Plus shows that we've watched, this is one of the most unique by far. You've got like a really interesting cast of characters. All of the kids I wound up kind of liking. Fern was definitely a highlight. I loved how her character went from being very kind of standoffish to showing her vulnerability as the series went along. You had KV, a character who contributes this single best scene in the whole show to me, that dealt with a really interesting kind of idea of like how people with chronic illnesses or like ongoing conditions are like viewed by their friends and how they feel about their place in the world. Like it's just non-stop a story that I kept finding unexpected delights in, whether that was and then there was the expected delights, which was the Nick Frost's pirate droid.
Yes, SM-33, my guy.
SM-33. Like if not for K2SO, this dude would be like my favorite droid. And Huyang, this guy would probably be my favorite droid of the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, no.
Can't say I remember no Atin.
Yeah, no, I love this show. I'm staring at my Black Series set of the main cast. I will be talking about it later for certain. Yes. My number 4 is what I thought your number 4 was going to be, and that is John Jackson Miller's The Living Force. This book is awesome, man. This is the only full canon novel I read this year, and it's not just making the list by default. This book ruled so hard. Another author that is making his long return to Star Wars after writing Kenobi and A New Dawn comes back to write this one set a year before The Phantom Menace, following the entirety of the Jedi Council on a mission to the outpost on the planet Quen, as we really get to see the full transition between how the Jedi were viewed in the High Republic to compared to how they are in the prequel trilogy. And you get to really see that sentiment between the ordinary citizens, where they feel that the Jedi are starting to neglect them and abandon them. And I thought this book tackled that so well. I loved how each individual council member had their own characters and plot lines, and actually had depth to a lot of them. Like Yariel Poof was funny in this. Aberancissus as this weird dynamic with this giant like sea serpent creature. The absolute highlight of the book for me though was Depa Billaba, 2024 Glut Madness champion Depa Billaba, I should say. She was the heart and soul of this book. She had a great dynamic with this girl. She's undercover with this pirate organization, which is our main villain of the story. And there's this pirate stowaway girl that she really bonds with and has that motherly connection with that I really vibed with. And I think that this book is the definitive canon Depa story, I would say, is the Living Force. But all of them are great. Kiadi Mundi, like Lynn's alluded to months ago, this man just eats plain snow cones with no flavor. It's hilarious. There's a great moment where he goes undercover, and the way they describe it is just freaking hilarious. My only real knock on this book and why it's not higher is I feel like the villain was simultaneously undercooked and also overexposed at the same time. Like, I feel like her story never really changed, but also she was in so much of it. Like, every other chapter focused on her near the end of the book, where I'm just like, okay, I kind of want to focus more on these other characters because I'm having so much fun with them, to where it's just like, okay, we're really doing this again, and we're really like dragging our feet here. But the end of this book is incredible. There's a genuine twist at the end that knocked my socks off. I was not expecting it at all. But I definitely recommend, if you have not read The Living Force yet, give this one a read. It ruled so hard, and I had to include it on my list. Okay. Your number 3.
My number 3 is also my number 3 is the Living
there
Force.
it is.
Yeah, like we're going into it. It was just an inch over like Skeleton Crew here, but yeah, I read this book literally before the Mace Windu book in January, and I absolutely loved it. This definitely belongs in like my top 5 Star Wars novels. It's a really like just awesome depiction of the entire Jedi Council. Like, you've got like the fact that John Jackson Miller was able to get all 12 members of the council with Anakin and Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan along for the ride, bookending the story.
The running gag with them and those 3 pirates.
Literally,
took me out.
When I realized they're going to keep bumping into the same 3 doofus pirates, I just laughed out loud. I was like, "Oh my god, this is great! I love it! I love it!" And I love Qui-Gon's like little reaction, like to Obi-Wan, like when he realizes they're the same 3, and he goes, "You're not going to believe this." And it's great, but it serves the theme as well, and that's what I kind of love. Like, I had it in my notes like just months ago, is that I love the sociological storytelling. It's really fantastic, and I really like that, as you said, John Jackson Miller really explores the Jedi's receding from the wider galaxy. How it not only empowers the various criminal gangs in their absence, but it also contributes to the economic decline of planets like Quen. This is like a really good bridge between the era of the High Republic and the Acolyte, especially, and the prequel trilogy. The whole thing revolves around the Jedi outposts that were so commonplace in the High Republic, and were like really cool, and made us all go, "Oh, I wish that was a kind of more of a thing that the Jedi did." And then we see here that they're all just closed down, and the Jedi are just receding away to the core. It's just, it's a really, really interesting book. And I love Quen as well. Like the way the island is laid out.
This book for Quen is excellent.
It's one of the most tactile. Like, Metagos is similar in Mace Windu and the Glass Abyss. There's great description of that planet. I love it. But Quen, for me, I love the description. It feels like such a tactile place. There's like the little map at the start showing the various key islands. It's really cool. And I just love seeing the Jedi Council go about these kind of like non-violent missions for the most part. It's the closest I think a Star Wars story has come to evoking a genuine Studio Ghibli vibe, because so much of the story is centered around non-violent like adventures with the Jedi, until the inevitable like third act like escalation, which feels absolutely earned and definitely and again you feel the stakes because you've spent so long on this island. You've got to know the various people that populate the various islands of Quen, and the Jedi like actually kind of coming to sort of rediscover something about themselves. It's really, really, really good book. I can't say enough good things about it. I will leave off with two things. You mentioned about Depper. I really love the way Depper is portrayed in this, because Depper going undercover, and the minute I found out that she was like undercover in the first place, I was like, oh yes, now we're cooking with gas. But I completely bought in this that she was Kanan's master. Because like the going undercover, the like kind of winging it with some things, the kind of taking an interest in like a young child who'd sort of grown up on the wrong side of the tracks, who was like trying to just make the best out of their life. It all resonated really very strongly with me, and completely made me kind of go, yeah, this is the kind of Jedi who would absolutely be a nurturing master for Kanan. And I also have to like leave off with the final with this line from Eth Koth, who is another character I just really kind of resonated
He's
with.
He's a ladies' man in this book.
Yeah, yeah. Like, well, because and again, this tees up the fact that he leaves the Order in Charles Soule's Darth Vader comics, that we actually see that he left and found love. So again, it's just a really, really cool story that segs in with a lot of other Star Wars stuff, and it stands really well on its own. But the more kind of Star Wars stuff you've sort of read, it has a real kind of like intertextual like vibe that that just really works. I will finish off by mentioning this line from him, which I think sums up the book. I miss when I was more Jedi than Order. That's such a great line. Great line. But yeah, Living Force, fantastic. Absolutely cannot recommend it enough. My favorite Star Wars book of 2024.
Yeah, no, it's great. So my number 3 is The Acolyte. Well, again, it's the show that I thought everyone hated, and yada yada yada. There's fire in space. Who is that at the end? Is that Yoda? I don't know. But no, this show, I will admit, some of my overall enjoyment has waned because of how it ended. I've like had some time to sit on the finale, and I was okay, this really works for me if we get a second season.
Yeah.
And obviously we're getting a second season, so I don't have to worry about that. As its own standalone thing, now that we're not getting a second season, I still feel it's like, I don't know. It feels incomplete. That's the way I would describe the end of the show. I also feel like it only getting 8 episodes hurt this narrative a lot. This is a wide problem with the majority of Disney Plus shows and a lot of the Star Wars shows as well, as it feels like it needed that and/or 12 episode sweet spot would have worked great for a show like this. That being said, there is still so much about this show that I really, really like. I like that it took risks. I liked our wide cast of characters. Jecki is one of my MVPs. Master Soul getting this nuanced, conflicted Jedi, a morally gray Jedi where you really enjoy the character and you feel for him, but you also know that he made some fucked up choices and he has to live with them. And this show does not pull any punches with showing what he did and being like, yeah, no, this dude messed up. And you definitely feel for Osha during that point. Obviously, the Stranger is maybe my favorite villain in all of the canon Star Wars shows we've had so far. It's not just because Manny Jacinto is awesome. It's not just because of Shirtless Chimera. The dude just ruled. The fact that we had our first new live-action Sith since Count Dooku almost 25 years ago, and they more than well paid off in my mind. I thought the dude was awesome, and Night is one of my favorite Star Wars episodes of all time. Again, it is a little bittersweet even talking about this show because of how it ended, and because I know that even me alluding that I liked this show is going to elicit some reactions. But I think once we're in the rear view mirror with this show and we can look back on it as its own thing, separated from the discourse, I think more and more people will open up and appreciate what this show gave us. I think it's the way it depicted the Sith and got us our first glimpse at what an all or a Sith-led show could be, which I really think the second season would have been. I thought it was really compelling, and I think it was a really nice show. The choreography was excellent as always. That final battle between Soul and Chimera in the finale was excellent. And I will never forgive Disney and certain people for the fact that we got a freaking Darth Plagueis tease and they ruined it and they took it from us. So, yeah, it sucks that we're not getting a continuation, at least in the form of a second season. I hope someday we can get some continuations with these characters. I'm really looking forward to the Yord and Jeki book. I've talked about that all year. Hopefully that's on my list next year. Then Yord Horde, obviously. What I did love about this show, though, is hidden within the discourse, which was just, I felt like at its worst as a Star Wars fan. Like we said, Skeleton Crew came out at the perfect time because the Acolyte discourse and the surrounding aftermath of that was just exhausting. And I think it drove a lot of people away from the fandom. Or at least
really did.
Willing to talk about Star Wars in podcasts like we're doing right now. I feel like I've seen people fade away from discussing the recent shows because of the way the Acolyte was received, or at least the discourse surrounding it. But getting those little moments where we got to make the Yord Horde and the Jeki Jam, and we had those like grassroots things that like that was just like it just came out of nowhere, and it was like
very
like
organic.
They weren't manufactured; they were like made by the fans, and that I really enjoyed. And I love that this introduced, like Andor did, I like that this introduced people to Star Wars that maybe wouldn't have watched Star Wars to begin with. Whether that's because of Leslie Headlands and people that were fans of Russian Doll, or that was because of the very present queer and POC influences and presence that are in this show, or whether that's just because it was another enemies to lovers story and people really vibe with that kind of storytelling on the internet. But no, I haven't revisited it since it ended. And again, I'm still like, man, but we could have had so much more. And that's why it's only number 3. But I still liked it more than enough to put it on this list. And I mean, I just got Kelnaka and Vernestra Black Series figures the other day. Ooh. So like, I'm still rooting for this show. I'm still supporting this show. So I wanted to include it here. Again, doesn't top my list, but it is my number 3. So I know what your top 2 are. I just want to. I'm just curious about the order. So your number 2.
My number 2 is, drumroll please, the Bad Batch season 3. So like, honestly, Bad Batch. Again, I was going into this thinking I would like. Bad Batch was one of my most hyped Star Wars shows of like 2024. I was so excited for it because, you know, I feel like we forged a real personal connection with this show like over the course of the second season. I enjoyed the first season, especially since it was coming during something of a drought with Star Wars. For much of 2021, we didn't get any new Star Wars until Book of Boba Fett, and that was again during a big transition period for series 2, because it's like we've got Mando season 2. We were just sort of moving towards like the big Disney Plus infusion of Star Wars shows into the public consciousness. But season 2 got really hooked on that. We wound up I've not been as affected by a death of a character in animated Star Wars since Tech, to the point where I spent most of series 3 just I was ingesting copium the way Saw ingests Rhydonium, with my stupid Tech theory about him being the masked clone,
the CX clone.
Look, the minute that dude got run through, I was like, oh my god, I've oh my god, I was coping so hard, for sure. But series 3 I was really impressed with because, you know, there was a lot of obviously there was a lot of cool like fan servicey stuff. We got the return of Ventress, which was awesome. Huge shock to all of us, and it was handled really well. It was really respectful to Dark Disciple. But I also admired the restraint that the creative team showed with Bad Batch season 3, because they could have packed it full of cameos and all kinds of stuff. But I loved that the finale was just a send-off for those characters. They didn't feel the need to be excessive with the amount of characters they brought in. They didn't feel the need to like have a big show-stopping cameo a la Luke in The Mandalorian season 2, which again that worked for that series. But I really love that we got to see a real emotion, character-driven finale with these characters. You know, Crosshair's redemption, I cannot say enough good things about. I loved seeing him kind of like slowly thaw throughout this season. His and Omega's dynamic was just so heartwarming to kind of see. And like the final moments of like him and Omega and Hunter, like oh my god, I just completely blanked on Crosshair's name. The final moments of Crosshair and Hunter rescuing Omega, like I had genuine tears in my eyes because of the emotions that the series had elicited in me, and the theme of this like found family of clones, and the fact that they got a happy ending. Like again, this is something we aren't used to as Star Wars fans. Like we were all expecting the Bad Batch to like lay down their lives for Omega, and they'd all like die by the end of it, and she'd be left on her own. But instead, they got to live a life. They actually got to retire. They got to they got to rest away from the conflict, get a break from the conflict, and live their lives as individuals, no longer cogs in the war machine that had been basically just that took them for granted, used them up, and then tried to spit them out the minute they were inconvenient to its usage. But like, yeah, there was so many cool things. I have fond memories of covering Bad Batch season 3, partly for the tech copium, but mainly for torturing Andrew about the prospect of Sid.
Oh God, there it is.
My favorite one was like the week before the Ventress episode, and I just teased about like Sid showed up, and you just very very with complete sincerity just went, no. It was just,
I don't want it to happen.
No, don't manifest this.
Stay away from me. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So my number 2 is also the Bad Batch season 3.
Yes,
it was very, very close.
Unity, baby.
My number 1. All I really need to say is the fact that for about 2 weeks after the finale aired, I could not stop thinking about that last shot of them all on Pabu, and then that final farewell and the time skip with Hunter and Omega. I was just like, this is one of my favorite Star Wars shots of all time, is just them laying all under the tree together. Like you said, the fact that they all got a happy ending was wonderful. That finale is something special. And again, like we were saying, during our recaps, we were like, oh, Rex is going to show up and we're going to get this big clone revolt. And the fact that it didn't need that. We didn't get that. It didn't need that. It was just Hunter, Wrecker, Echo, and Crosshair saving Omega. And that's all we needed, because that was the core of this show, was Clone Force 99 together. Again, Bad Batch Season 2 was really special to me. That was also my number 2 last year, was Bad Batch Season 2. It's the second year in a row Bad Batch is almost topped my list. But again, was still reeling after Tech's death. By the way, reading Ghost Agents and seeing Tech there, I'm just like, the wound is still fresh.
Oh.
The wound is still fresh.
Every time I see someone tweet about it, it's like, I don't know, it's like that wound is just opened up again. And I'm like, Tech, no.
But we got wonderful episodes. Like we said, getting Ventress back was incredible. Crosshair's redemption has officially taken the crown from Callus as my favorite redemption arc in all of Star Wars. I think it is picture perfect. I think it is the new gold standard for redemption stories in Star Wars. And by the end of the season, Crosshair and Omega became top 10 Star Wars characters of all time for me. I don't know if they're still there. Crosshair probably still is, but I just resonated so much with their story and the story of his tremor throughout the season and his hand, and going back to the outpost from season 2 where the redemption all started. There were getting to see the Zillo Beast come back, all the stuff with Tantus, getting to see Emery develop as a character, Hemlock being the most magnificent bastard of all Star Wars villains. And then,
I feel like him and Krennic would get along really well.
They really would. And then Bearded Rampart. Oh, all right. That took over the internet for a few weeks. But again, no, I love this season. I think it is one of the strongest final seasons of animation, of Star Wars animation. And again, that finale is something special. I love it to death. But it doesn't top my list. At this point, I think we have figured out what our respective number ones are. But Donovan, take it away. Your number one story of 2024.
So, in the move that will shock no one now, my number one pick, my favorite Star Wars story of 2024 is The Acolyte.
It wasn't Morgan
yes,
Elsbeth's stories?
No,
I thought for
no.
sure that's what it was going to be.
I mean, Morgan was kind of jostling for like the top position, but then I just kind of like I came to my senses and I was like, there's just kind of like there's nothing here.
This Acolyte
really.
thing, that's pretty good.
This Acolyte thing's pretty good. Like, yeah, I was kind of flirting with that, and then Night came out, and I was like, oh no, yeah, this is definitely the top. But yeah, the Acolyte, I had, despite the sheer toxicity that sadly persisted through much of the discourse around the Acolyte, and it felt very much kind of like has kind of hung around like a giant stink cloud since its tragic cancellation. I still hope we get some form of continuation down the line besides the books. Fingers crossed. Manny Jacinto, bless him for like still like continuing there, like saying I want to do more. I want to do more stories with Chimera. But yeah, as you said, this was a really unique show. It's got one of the more unique kind of like creative personalities like behind it with Leslie Headland. She brought a real fresh perspective to the series, much like how John Watts brought a real feeling, a love of like the Amblin era and his experience with like the Spider-Man films, like working with like younger actors. Leslie really brought that love of the prequels and that whole like kind of murder mystery kind of like vibe with like the central kind of mystery of like Osha and May and like what happened on Brendock.
What happened on Brendock? We're still wondering.
Yeah, we're still wondering. Yeah, why wouldn't you tell us? But literally, like my thoughts with the Acolyte are still I'm still have very fond memories of it because this was we had so many guests on like sharing like how much they like enjoyed the series. It was like there was like the one episode where we didn't have a guest was like where we had to like wing it at the last minute because of the like penultimate episode, which we were literally recording as the finale was airing.
Yeah,
like,
that's a common theme here.
Like, yeah, what do you mean we like recorded our celebration predictions while celebration was
going on? Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah, but like there's so much I love about the Acolyte. It has like bar none the best lightsaber combat of like the whole Disney Plus era. Yes, even the Obi-Wan Vader fight, which is it's still my favorite duel, but the lightsaber combat in Night is just incredible. Like we had some really awesome legends, stuff like Cortosis kind of being introduced here. We had the best, like we had a new Sith, one of the coolest new villains in the franchise.
Some of those moments with the Stranger in Night still live rent-free in my head. Dude headbutts a lightsaber.
That's one of the most like badass things I've seen a character do in Star Wars, and it's like people were like generally out there saying like it's the meme of like this stinks, and it's like literal coolest thing
coolest thing you've ever seen.
Like I'm seeing that a lot with the Superman movie now, and it's like do you guys actually like Superman?
No, they don't. They like Zack Snyder, and that's it. But I real quickly want to bring up that Jecki death.
Oh,
still, when you're like, oh, she's probably gonna be safe. Like she's one of the younger characters. You can do more with her and Osha in later seasons. Boom, boom. And then the Chimera reveal, I still am like, oh, and then Yord in the same episode again.
I was like,
it's
like,
one of the best episodes ever. It's
Are you
so
kidding
good.
me? They got Yord as well. Like literally, my whole vibe. Like, I mean, Night is like head and shoulders the like standout episode of the season because it achieves that almost kind of Game of Thrones level of almost feeling like an event. It felt like an absolute event to watch. Like we had the 4 episodes building up, teasers of like the mystery that had happened, seeing the characters get in position, and then the end of chapter 4 just going, yeah, shit's gonna go down next episode, and like. I felt like we were all waiting with bated breath for episode 5, and then Night comes out, and it's like some of the coolest stuff we've seen in terms of like lightsaber combat. But
my heart was pounding the entire episode.
I was like, my heart sank so hard when Jecki got like the 3-hole punch, like death from Chimera. and then Yord, like, to go the way he did as well. Like, again, very fond memories of like watching Star Wars fans coping with like the most twisted memes, and I do mean twisted. But
This episode's over. We got.
Oh, we're all huffing the copium. We're all like sore. You have no idea where I am.
No idea. Not
no
a clue.
idea. Saw, you're on Jeddah. No, no, I'm not. But like, aside from Night, I loved the whole season because like, it felt so unique as like a Star Wars show. It really built upon ideas that the prequels like hinted at, like the idea of like the Jedi's flaws and exploring the systemic kind of issues with the Jedi, but also at the same time showing that individually, you know, they mean well. Sadly, it's the institutional issues with the Order that cloud their judgment and lead them to make questionable decisions, which is what Saul's whole character arc. He's one of the most complex Jedi I think we've seen in this era of Star Wars. Like, he's someone who cares, but his caring genuinely kind of like is his downfall here. It's like the opposite of the Jedi who shut their feelings off and don't care so much. We actually see the flip side of that and kind of see why, in a lot of ways, the Jedi Order forbids attachment to the extent that it causes it's partly responsible anyway for Anakin's downfall and seduction to the dark side as Darth Vader. But it's just, there's so much I can say about this show that just absolutely rules. Again, like you said, the casting is great. You've got you've got such a diverse cast here of like great actors. You know, you Charlie Barnett, Daphne Keane, Carrie-Anne Moss, and you know, Manny Jacinto just absolutely smashing it. Like, again, one of the most unique villains, completely using that image we had of him as Jason from The Good Place and just completely like just knocking us all for six with how dark this character is, but also how surprisingly sympathetic he sort of is in the later episodes, even while he's done horrible things to us as fans. But of course, like, I think if I could single out any performer in particular besides Manny Jacinto, it obviously has to be Amanda Stenberg, because they were so fantastic throughout this whole season to play dual roles the way that they did and convey the different kind of trauma that both May and Osha had gone through. With one's acceptance into the Jedi and eventual kind of like parting of the ways from, but also May with this single-minded drive for vengeance, but also getting that complete hiccup of, oh, my sister's still alive. What do I do now? What do I want? I do think May's story sadly suffers a little bit from not being finished. Like in terms of like where season 2 was going. I kind of was I was expecting so much more to be done with May in season 2, and it's part of the tragedy of like loving the Acolyte, knowing that we didn't get to see so much of this story is currently untold, and with the kind of teases they laid, like the idea of Yoda being involved and potentially learning of the rule of two this way, Darth Plagueis, like, again, if you want to know how cooked so-called Star Wars fans who hate the show is, you know, the thing that they had been wanting to happen for years happened. Darth Plagueis showed up looking all authentic, looking like he just stepped out of a Legends illustration. And they were like, man, no, I don't want it because it's woke. Whatever that means.
He shouldn't be alive at this point.
He shouldn't be alive at this period. How come is Kymir his apprentice? That doesn't make sense. Wah.
But again, the toxicity was exhausting, but this show gave us so much that I honestly think, so much good stuff that I honestly think that, like you said, when the time comes to look at it in the rearview mirror, the positives of this show will far outweigh the like absolutely noxious discourse that existed around it. And I love that Leslie Headland took the risk that she did, like you said, had these kind of plot turns, like actually had the guts to like rip away characters that we had spent several episodes like bonding with and being very High Republic and going, oh no, yeah, this was their story, this was their place in the narrative, you just didn't realize it, and now I'm gonna rip your heart out. It's just, yeah, I feel like I've only scratched the surface of like how much I enjoyed this show and how much like good things I have to say about it. But there it is. The Acolyte's my number one pick. You know, maybe a season 2 somewhere down the line, if like Disney grow a brain and decide, actually, yeah, this show, we should probably stop listening to the chuds here and just do another season. But yeah,
it's crazy that its numbers on the service were really good after the show ended. It's almost like that's how streaming works. and a show gains an audience over time. But I'm just some guy recording in my basement, so what do I know? The one thing I'll add is, again, we're getting the Acolyte visual guide and the art of the Acolyte later this year. I don't know if it's going to be in that book, but the lore person that I am, I've said this every single time. If we get one more thing from this show, give us Chymere's Sith name, please.
Put it in there. Come
just
on.
throw it in there. I need
Just
a
put
new
it in
Darth
there.
name. Just please. I can't just keep calling him the Stranger for the rest of my life.
He's too cool not to have a
He's too
Sith name.
cool. Give me a Black Series. The last Funko I bought was a Chimere one because it's the only merch he has. Please.
You got to feel for the merch people, because the minute that comes, if that does come out, they're all gonna be like, "Oh shit, we got to like rebrand all of this stuff." Now.
Yeah, it's like, God damn it, here we go,
guys. It will be so worth it.
It will be so worth it. Anyways, my number one, and I went back and forth when I was first crafting this list because I was like, okay. Bad Batch to me, when I think about 2024, that's what I think of. And this was like kind of in between years. However, what a show has meant to me and how it impacted me, my number one is Skeleton Crew. The way you described the show earlier is the perfect show for that time is spot on. This show depicted the childlike wonder of Star Wars better than I think any Star Wars project has done since the original trilogy. The whimsy of certain moments, I was like, oh my God, am I watching freaking Return of the Jedi right now? Which I admittedly, as much as I like the majority of what we've gotten in this Disney era, there are still moments where I'm just like, okay, well, like, it still doesn't have that magic that the original trilogy did at points. This show had that for me. Whether it's that moment at the end of episode 6 of the Onyx Cinder getting its true form, I was like, "Oh my God, this is straight out of A New Hope here."
It's so
whether
cool.
it's, again, like I said, the childlike wonder of getting our cast be just a cast of kids and seeing them live through the Star Wars galaxy for the first time, see X-Wings for the first time, learn about the larger galaxy for the first time. It worked so well. John Watts and Christopher Ford crafted this universe in such a great way. The mystery of Ad-Aden, Jad and Nawood being such a complex, wonderful character that I really hope we get to see more of. The kids all being wonderful. You mentioned Fern earlier. She ended up being my favorite by the end of the season. She was so great. The fact that Claimsies was a legit moment in episode 7 where we're like, wow, she's got us there. Like, and it worked. The way that this show built off of little things from previous episodes to bring them back in, like the gun in episode 4, like that Claimsies thing, like the can't say I remember no Ad-Aten line. And then again, the finale was really special to me. I loved talking about the show, even though our coverage was really weird because a lot of it was after the show had aired. Because, again, the end of 2024 was a really crazy and messed up time. So for this show to come out after that just depressing end to how the Acolyte ended, to come out and get a show where everyone was just in agreement for just this short period of time, after we argued and the fandom lit itself on fire for about 2 months during the summer, we could all just agree that this show was just lovely. And thankfully, that was good. This, to me, is the start of the new renaissance of Star Wars to me. Because the vibes right now just feel different to me. Andor felt different. Tales of the Underworld felt different. Star Wars Celebration and getting these new things that we have coming, it all just feels like everything is in place and we are in the right moment. Finally, that we actually feel some sort of transparency for once. What is this? Like, knowing this company as one that is, they'll announce 8 billion things and then none of them will get made. Now it's like, okay, actually, these are the ones that were closest into production. They're happening now. This is when shooting is starting. This is what you can expect. This is what we can show you. That just felt like, again, bare minimum for a lot of studios. But as a Star Wars fan, I'm like, oh my God, actual production updates? I'll take this. Like, again, it just all feels great. The Battlefront 3 movement right now. the vibes just feel right now. And I think Skeleton Crew capped that and started that to me in just the most wonderful way. Again, I love these characters. Neil is my son. He will forever be my son. And for all the heartbreak surrounding us not continuing with the Acolyte, it's been a couple months. I realize that now maybe our chances of a season 2 of Skeleton Crew are lesser than we thought they would be. That being said, and not hearing anything at Celebration is disheartening. And knowing that Disney is kind of in like a weird in-between state with streaming, we don't really know what's coming after Ahsoka season 2. That being said, don't mess this up. Like, I've said that this could be your tentpole Star Wars project on Disney Plus for years to come. This can be your Stranger Things. I think the fact that they put these episodes on Disney Channel, like the main Disney Channel, was really smart. I don't know what the numbers were, but I think putting it there so a whole new group of kids can get introduced to Star Wars in this way for the first time was great. This can be their show. And I think the way that it was received and the way that people still talk about this show and have these fond memories of this show, I think you need to go all in and just make more seasons of this, because I think it has the potential to be a multi-season long, really fun adventure, at least in books and comics and all that form down the line, because I want to see more of these kids. Like, I love the way the show ends, but I want to see more of their story. I want to see what happens with Jod after the finale. I want
fascinating
more. And I think that just sums up a lot of our experience with Star Wars in 2024. It's like knowing that we could have so much more. To me, though, when I compare how the Acolyte ended, which again was a really strong finale, but I had my like, okay, well, I definitely think this needs a second season for like May's story in particular, like you said. With Skeleton Crew, if it's the end, I'm okay with it. I'm going to be very upset, but I think it worked really well as a finale, but also could be a continuation into future seasons. Like, I'm like, okay, well, if this is the last episode we get, I'm fine with it being the end of this story. I think it works well as a conclusive finale, but also give me more seasons. Greenlight them right now, please and thank you. So,
don't let Fern get stolen away by Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I know that's the other thing where I'm like, oh, this probably means we're not getting this season 2 for a while, though. Yeah. But just the fact that they were so candid about, yeah, we do have plans for season 2, and we know what we would like to do. Like, as the show was finishing up, I'm like, okay, well, Lucasfilm does approve these interviews, so like, hopefully this is a sign of good things to come. But we shall see. So to recap, as always, my number 5 story of 2024 was Padawan's Pride, the Audible original. My number 4 was The Living Force by John Jackson Miller. My number 3 was The Acolyte. My number 2 was The Bad Batch Season 3. And my number 1 story of 2024 was Skeleton Crew. Donovan, for yourself?
So my number 5 was Mace Windu and the Glass Abyss. My number 4 story was Skeleton Crew. My number 3 story was The Living Force. My number 2 was The Bad Batch Season 3. And my number 1 story was The Acolyte. # make Season 2.
Yep. Couldn't say it better myself. I also just realized in my notes that I have The Bad Batch Season 2 instead of Season 3. I don't know how I'm
still thinking about tech.
We're still thinking about tech, man. Like that's got to be it.
I feel your pain there, dude.
Either that or the fact that this episode is so late that I could, in fact, be referring to The Bad Batch Season 2, but we will see. But thank you, everyone, for joining us for our long-delayed, super late favorite Star Wars stories of 2024. We promise that next year we'll actually have it out at the appropriate time.
I might actually have read the 2025 Star Wars books by the time of January, hopefully.
We'll see. I'm already having a good start. It's been a great start to the year, though, so I cannot wait to recap it all at the end of the year, as we like to do here. So thank you guys for joining us. Donovan, where can everyone find you as we wrap things up here?
So you can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead. You can find me on Instagram as at Donovan_McComish. That's the same handle for Threads. TikTok, you can find me at Donovan McComish, and Blue Sky at DonovanMcComish.bsky.social. I also am a question writer for Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations, where multiple Star Wars fan personalities go head to head over there. Who has the better Star Wars knowledge? We got some cool matchups coming in the near future, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I have also written a Star Wars fan story that was published in 2022, which I still need to fix the link for. But when I do, the story is called Scars of War. It takes place 5 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, and sees a clone trooper who deserted the Empire named Blister, who encounters a Jedi survivor of Order 66 named Shar Kun. So if you like Star Wars and pain, PTSD, that kind of stuff, definitely consider giving it a read. I had a lot of fun writing it.
As for myself, you can find me at all socials at Starlight Andrew. You can follow the pod on Twitter at For the Repub Pod, and on Instagram and TikTok at For the Republic Pod. Also Blue Sky, For the Republic Pod.bsky.social. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are dangerously close to 100 subs as we get closer to 100 episodes overall of For the Republic. So help us reach that goal. We got some fun things planned once we do hit that goal. Also, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to our podcast, it helps support the show, and it goes a long way. For what you can expect, the summer is going to be lacking in new Star Wars shows, which gives us time to finally catch up on the Clone Wars. Get back to where it all started. Returned, the Clone War has. We will continue get back to our coverage of the Clone Wars Season 2, hopefully within the next week or two. So that'll be very fun. We're going to start off with the very Kurosawa-inspired Bounty Hunters episode, which is one of the great ones. So we'll see you then. But that's in the summer. We got a lot planned, and I hope you all join us on the ride. So until next time, take care, and may the Force be with you, always.